Today, we're going on a journey right into the heart of one of Islam's most sacred sites, the Masjid-e-Nabawi, the Prophet's Mosque in the shining city of Medina. And our story, well, it doesn't start with bricks and mortar. It starts with a promise from paradise itself.
To really get why this place means so much to so many, you have to start right here, with these words from the Prophet Muhammad. He's not just describing a building, he's telling us that a specific part of this mosque is literally a piece of heaven on earth. And that promise, you can feel it in the air there to this day.
So, how was this exact spot picked? You know, it wasn't a real estate deal or a city planning meeting. The story of how this ground was chosen comes down to faith, a little bit of divine intervention, and a very, very special camel. I mean, just picture it. The Prophet has just arrived in Medina, and every single family is hoping, praying for the honor of having him stay with them. But instead of picking someone, he just drops the reins of his camel, Qaswa, and says, "Let her go, for she is under command." And so the camel wanders, it kneels, it gets up for a moment, and then comes right back to the very same spot and kneels again. That was it. The decision was made, not by a person, but by God's will, shown through this quiet, humble animal.
Now, what happens next is so important. The land, which was just a simple plot for drying dates, belonged to two young orphans. They immediately offered it as a gift. But the Prophet refused to take it for free. He insisted on paying them, laying the mosque's foundation not just on a holy spot, but on the principles of total fairness and justice. He paid 10 mescals of gold, making sure the very ground it stood on was pure from the start.
So that simple plot of land became the seed for something, well, something absolutely monumental. Over the next 1,400 years, this mosque would go through one of the most incredible makeovers in all of human history.
Just look at the difference here. The very first mosque, built by the Prophet and his companions with their own hands, was this humble open-air space. We're talking mud bricks for walls and palm trunks for pillars. Now fast forward to today. We're looking at a jaw-dropping complex of marble and polished stone with giant sliding domes that's over 165,000 square meters, and that's not even counting the courtyards. It can hold over 650,000 people at once. It's just an unbelievable transformation.
And this didn't happen overnight, of course. It was this continuous act of love and devotion, stretched across centuries. It started with the very first caliphs, who began expanding it. Then you had the Ottoman sultans, who turned it into a work of art with incredible calligraphy. And finally, the huge modern-day expansions to make room for today's massive global community of believers.
And speaking of the Ottomans, here's a great little fact. That famous green dome, the one that's become the symbol of the whole city of Medina, it wasn't always green. The dome was first built, and then, in 1817, the Ottoman Sultan Mahmud II ordered it to be painted that iconic color. It stands right over the Prophet's tomb, like a green jewel watching over the city.
Okay, so now we're moving from the history of the building to its spiritual core. We're stepping inside the space that inspires this incredible feeling of reverence in millions of hearts.
This is it, the Rawza-i-Mutahhara, the purified garden. It's actually a pretty small area. You'll know it by the special green carpets, but its importance is just off the charts. This is the spot that fulfills that promise we talked about at the very beginning, the garden from the gardens of paradise. For a believer to get the chance to pray here, well, it's like praying in a little piece of heaven that's fallen to earth. And right inside this garden lies the most sacred, most protected spot in the entire mosque, a place of deep, deep love and memory.
This is the Hujre Sa'adat, or the Chamber of Felicity. It's amazing to think that this sacred chamber was once the simple mud brick home of the Prophet and his wife, Aisha. It's the room where he passed away, and it's where he was buried. And right beside him lie his two closest friends, the first two caliphs, Abu Bakr and Omar. As you can imagine, access is extremely restricted to preserve its sanctity.
And here's a fascinating detail. Centuries ago, when a wall was built around the tomb to protect it, they didn't build a normal four-sided room. They built a five-sided one, and this was completely intentional. It was a clever and deeply meaningful design, all to make sure that no one could ever mistake it for the Kaaba in Mecca and start circling it as an act of worship. It's a powerful reminder of the core of the faith.
The mosque isn't just a magnificent building. It's practically a library of stories. Every pillar, every archway has a memory attached to it, connecting us today directly to those who walked there 1,400 years ago.
Now that sounds like a strange question, doesn't it? But it's a question that leads to one of the most beautiful and touching stories you'll ever hear about this mosque. It's a story about love, and a longing so powerful it could make the inanimate, well, animate.
So the story goes that the Prophet used to lean against a simple palm tree trunk while he gave his sermons. But as more people came, they built him a proper pulpit, a mimbar, so everyone could see and hear him. The first time he walked past the old trunk and up to the new pulpit, people in the mosque heard a sound like a child crying. It was coming from the palm trunk. The Prophet came down from the pulpit, walked over to the trunk and just held it, like you would a crying child, until it grew quiet. He then promised it a place with him in paradise.
That weeping palm trunk was eventually buried with honor, right near where it once stood. And the pulpit that you can see in the mosque today, it's this absolutely breathtaking 12-step marble masterpiece. It was a gift from the Ottoman Sultan Murad III, all the way back in 1590. It's a stunning piece of art, but it's also a symbol of that deep, abiding love for the Prophet.
So you see, from a small courtyard made of mud to a global landmark, the mosque has physically changed beyond recognition, but its real purpose has never, ever changed: to be a shining beacon of faith, of learning, and of community for the world.
If you want to boil down its spiritual value to just one number, this is it: 1,000. The Prophet himself said that a single prayer offered in his mosque is better than 1,000 prayers offered anywhere else on earth. The only exception, of course, is the sacred mosque in Mecca. That belief, that immense reward, is what draws millions of people here every single year.
So in the end, the question we're left with is this: how does a simple 7th century courtyard, built from mud and palm leaves, grow into the spiritual center for more than 1 billion people today? The story of the Prophet's Mosque shows us how something small, built with pure faith and humility, can grow to fill the hearts of the entire world. It's a living testament to how a place can become an eternal symbol of love and divine connection. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.